What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 386 of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we will be breaking down some of the current events, the rumors, the news, the gossip, and everything else that went down in the world of professional wrestling over the past couple of days. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, as always, is Robert DeFelice.
Good evening, Tony.
Now, can I ask you something before we get into all these things? Are you going by Robert DeFelice, or are you going to switch it over to Bobby DeFelice?
Oh, I think it's interchangeable. I mean, one day I can be Bobby DeFelice, one day I can be Robert DeFelice. Tomorrow, I'll be Robbie DeFelice. It's
all
fun.
Depends on what the mustache wants to do today.
Yeah, you know?
Well, we're going to address that. We're going to address name changes to a couple different people. We're going to address the fact that the Superstar Shakeup apparently didn't end on the time that it had ended for more than just one person, and there's still one person who hasn't been clarified yet. We've got AEW news, we've got trademarks, and we've got some stuff about Saudi Arabia, and we've got 2 shows to review, actually, so got a bit of stuff that we can go in here. And before we get into all that, I want to remind everybody to leave a comment below and tell us what you think about all these subjects. And while you're doing that, hit that subscribe button and do the other kind of stuff that we're going to go and break down on the plug side of things and all that other kind of stuff. So let's start off with actually some kind of like pay-per-view related talk. One thing being that they were originally going to have, supposedly, who knows if the rumor is true, possibly a women's match during that next Saudi Arabia show, which was originally scheduled for the beginning of May, and now it's been pushed to the beginning of June. And that's going to come into fact in our next story, but one of the stories going around here is that was also a reason why Sasha Banks has been throwing a little bit of a tantrum lately. It was, you're going to split us up. We're not going to get a long title reign. We're not going to get to have that feud with Beth and Natty. And we're not going to get that match at Saudi Arabia. First, do you believe in the story?
I believe that they were going to have a match in Saudi Arabia with women, yes.
See, I don't believe in that. I believe that they told her it's a possibility. But I don't think that it was ever actually a possibility.
I don't think it has anything to do with Sasha Banks. I think if they were going to have a match in Saudi Arabia with women, it would have been Becky and Charlotte.
That makes a lot more sense. Because really, are you going to break ground in the, first ever women competing in Saudi Arabia thing and give it to the tag titles? Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it would have been Charlotte and Becky. And here's the thing with the Sasha Banks issue is, I think it's all very real. It's kind of like, and this is somebody that I think we'll be talking about later in the show, CM Punk.
I didn't have that really on my list, so let's bring him up now.
Well, we'll talk about it now. See, there's a lot of parallels to me between Sasha Banks and CM Punk, and for that matter, Dean Ambrose and CM Punk, but Dean we will get to later. With Sasha, it's like she's frustrated, she's disgruntled, and she's done. And maybe they can change her mind. They had a window of opportunity where they wanted to change Punk's mind, or they could have changed Punk's mind, I should say, and they didn't take that opportunity. With Sasha, maybe they don't let her go, but right now it seems like she's pissed, she's, unhappy, and she is regularly being poked at on commentary by Corey Graves.
Well, he does take shots at a whole lot of other people too, and I mean, if I were in his shoes, I would probably do the same. Just because it's sort of like, it's not everybody backstage is going to be on her side. And the more that we learn about this, the more that it does seem like maybe there's a little bit more of a reason for her to be complaining. But then again, I still kind of think that maybe that's a little overreacting. And I don't know.
How do you
if she
feel
were
about the Bailey stuff?
What Bailey stuff?
Like, I read something that said Bailey freaked out on Tuesday when she got booed in Montreal and had to be, taken into a room backstage, and her behavior had to be addressed.
Oh, like she freaked out like, you guys are screwing me over, not like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
like
upset that they're finally booing me, and how can I fix this? Like, that kind of thing.
like I took it as it must have been something like, well, this sucks. You know, we had a good rhythm going, and now they're done with me because I just look like a loser. You know, like just frustration. It seems like they're both frustrated, but Bailey wants to work with the system, even though she's also done with it. You know?
Kind of, let's address the problems and let's work this out, as opposed to, I just want to quit because I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Makes sense, and that's the more mature approach.
I feel bad for Bailey because really, the thing with Sasha and Bailey is they were floundering for a while before the tag team division, and I think one thing that might be hurting them is that they were so open, even on WWE products, about how all they did was literally beg Vince to start this tag division so they could, create a new path for women and also a new direction for themselves. And I think it probably just infuriated them when they were told, yeah, okay, we're going in a different direction.
I wonder if maybe that was not necessarily a plan, but kind of like a subconscious plan for somebody like Vince. Like, maybe after spending a year or 2 years or however long they've been down that train, maybe when he finally gave them the titles, he was sort of like, all right, I'm already over it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
And
not the right way to go about things either. Like, that doesn't make, you know, even if the stuff that we say, by the way, about Sasha Banks being potentially overreacting and all that, doesn't mean that necessarily Vince is in the right either.
no, and I'm not at the point yet where I think Sasha is completely overreacting. I didn't like that last week she put out a tweet basically saying everybody's a mark and everybody's annoying for being invested in this. But I don't think she's necessarily overreacting. I think that it's unfortunate that they're losing so many people in this manner. Like they're losing, like Luke Harper is just like, okay, I want my release. You know?
Harper and Dean Ambrose is leaving with that kind of question mark of what is he doing, and all those rumors that there's some NXT people that might not want to stick around and go to the main roster, and there's another person who's leaving now for another reason, and it's not a good way to leave your company in a better state with competition to piss your people off, you know? But then again, I kind of agree with what those other reports are saying, where Vince or whoever else was backstage in a leadership position had said, we're not going to kiss Sasha's ass. And I kind of agree with that a little bit too, which is like, if everybody complains and everybody just wants to be the top dog all the time, and you just keep giving it to everybody, then nobody can just be the top dog then, you know? And maybe it's not necessarily in the cards for her. Like, she already is a 4-time women's champion, and she got a real shit card dealt to her when it came to that, because they kept making her lose the title immediately. So it's kind of 50-50 a little bit. It's like, I always hate the phrase have your cake and eat it too, because I think it's just stupid.
Me too.
But in that scenario, she's got the cake. You know, it's not like somebody who's been overlooked completely.
I would look at it like this. Becky Lynch also had a shitty,
Yeah.
like Becky Lynch, like let's not pretend that Becky Lynch wasn't in a shitty position for the majority of the time that she's been on the main roster.
Even NXT, like, she was not one of the ones. She was one of the only ones that didn't win the NXT Women's Championship.
That's right.
Sasha won it, Bayley won it, Charlotte won it, Becky didn't. And Becky won that SmackDown Women's title. And then, for the most part, she wasn't really doing all that much. And last year's WrestleMania, she was in the Battle Royal, and she didn't even win it. She turned
Right.
that around, you know?
And maybe that's just what Sasha needs to do here is, maybe come back, get some steam for herself. She's definitely, if she does come back, she's coming back as a heel.
Right.
Yeah, like she's coming back as somebody who is pissed off with the company. You can't ignore the stories we're hearing. I don't know. Well, I think it's an interesting ride that we might be on.
I just don't buy the idea that they told her, like, that this was a definite plan, that you were going to have this women's match, and it was going to be them.
Yeah, that I don't buy. I think that's...
If they did tell her that, I think that they did that kind of like, that sort of white lie type of thing, where they know that that's not going to happen, but they tell her, like, a maybe, kind of, and drill it into her head to the point where that'll make her happy until we have to pull the plug on it. You know, hey, we've got this idea. We might be able to have a women's match in Saudi Arabia. What if we have the women's tag titles? What if we have you against Beth and Natty? Wouldn't that be great, Sasha? And then she's like, oh, they're dangling this carrot in front of me, and this is going to be great. All the meanwhile that they pretty much go, yeah, we're not doing that. And then when it would have came down to this, probably around this time frame, they would have been building toward, because it was May 3rd, if I remember correctly. Then they would have dropped the hammer and been like, plans changed, and if we're going to have a women's match, we're going to do Becky Charlotte.
And I still think that might be a possibility. I just don't think that they were going to do first women's match ever in Saudi Arabia, and it's Sasha and Beck and Bailey versus Beth and Natty.
Yeah, I don't buy into that. But then again, the Saudi Arabia thing's kind of all up in the air, because that leads into kind of the next story, which was when they moved that from May 3rd to June 7th, they've apparently now canceled Backlash.
They always randomly cancel pay-per-views that actually are good pay-per-views, don't they?
It's weird that they don't have No Mercy anymore, and they had that Roadblock name, and they stopped using that. They did 2 Roadblocks in 1 year, and then that's it. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, but let's keep...
Fastlane.
I know we rag on this pay-per-views a lot, but let's keep TLC and let's keep Hell in a Cell. Like, you can't get rid of those and fit those matches into the calendar year in some other way. But yeah, we'll get rid of a normal name like Backlash, or a name that has equity like No Mercy.
Yeah, I hate that. And I also hate the idea that, and this is something that, a regular fan watching this doesn't have to work into it, but I mean, I plan this shit out well enough in advance that I've got schedules to kind of go by. And when I'm looking at something like the Backlash thing is supposed to be scheduled for June 16th or whatever it was, I've worked that into my my articles, and I worked that into the Smack Talk list of the year. And now I got to change all that again. Because now that means, all right, well, I can't do any pay-per-view related stuff around Backlash because Backlash doesn't exist. So there goes. And in some ways, that's good. Like we have an extra week or so when it comes to the podcast. We don't have to do predictions and a post show, so we could do something more fun. But the predictions and the post show stuff get more hits, so it's like, oh fuck, Or
well, the issue here, Tony, is shame on you for thinking that you could
I could plan
ahead. Yeah,
right.
Shame on you.
Yeah. So that stuff's annoying, and I like the Backlash name, so I'm disappointed in that too, especially because I know that the only reason that they're doing this is because they're going to do a Saudi show, and the Saudi shows are not good, and they haven't announced anything for this one. They haven't even announced a name for it yet. It's just international pay-per-view because they don't want to refer to it as Saudi Arabia show. And for all we know, this could be Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins, and Undertaker versus Elias, and John Cena comes back for a 3-minute match against Bobby Lashley, or, these, like, really lame, pointless matches, because it's a paid-for show, and canceling Backlash for that is kind of like, damn it,
Yeah, I agree. And, I saw a poster on the internet that said, in Saudi Arabia, it's the Shield's greatest final chapter, one last ride.
That's awful.
I don't like the Saudi Arabia shows, but I don't want to be too hard on them because I feel like those shows booked in America would be received better. But because they're in Saudi Arabia, it's just like that added layer of, ugh, you're gonna make it. It's so hard to support this company as they're taking what very well may be blood money and putting on the show.
Well, the greatest Royal Rumble, I never liked the idea that they were doing that, but at least I like Royal Rumbles. So the Royal Rumble thing was fun. And if they would have done a 50-man Royal Rumble at the Royal Rumble that year, that would have been really cool. But the rest of that, and then the whole Crown Jewel, just sucked. And to me, it's kind of the equivalent of like you had a crappy meal, then you find out the chef is also like a racist or something, and you're like, it made it even worse. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, crap, I paid for this. Like, but yeah, they're in this habit of just these random shows. And I mean, last year we had 2 Saudi Arabia shows, and they added Evolution and they added the Super Showdown, and they put Starrcade on there, but they did like this weird taping thing with Starrcade. And now this year we've gotten things like the Worlds Collide has been added into the mix, and the Shield's Final Chapter, which we're going to review those 2 right now. Worlds Collide, most recent thing was called Cruiserweights Collide, and that featured only some of the matches again. They're pretty much keeping this to 4 of the matches, and I don't really like that, but at the same time, I do kind of like that it's on the smaller side and I don't have to do as much work and all that. But we had like Tyler Bate against the Brian Kendrick, Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews from NXT UK against Arya Daivari and Mike Kanellis from 205 Live. We had a triple threat between Albert Hardy Jr. This is the first time I had a chance to see him. And Grand Metalik and Ligero. And Akira Tozawa against Jordan Devlin. I was not the biggest fan of this.
Well, I think Worlds Collide is a bad idea. I think that it's something that they're trying to get over because it seems cool in theory, but in execution, it's not great. And I just really want to say again, Albert Hardy Jr. sounds like the name of a low-end fast food chain, and they need to do something with that.
Like Carl's Jr. and Hardy mixed together.
Yes.
Still have never eaten at either of those.
And that's just so dumb. I know his name before was ACH, and maybe you felt like you needed to do more with that, even though you could have just expanded on the attitude, charisma, heart aspects. But the name Albert Hardy Jr., even though that is apparently his name, is just not good.
I mean, they're certainly changing that at some point.
I would really hope so.
Match-wise, when I said I wasn't the biggest fan of this, I don't mean that, like, it sucked, because it didn't suck. It was the main event more so that I wasn't all that into, and that kind of killed a little bit of that momentum for me, because Tyler Bate versus Brian Kendrick, that was fun. They had these, like, goofy little moments in there, and they had, like, a part where Kendrick was trying to get people to chant USA, like, just for the hell of it. Why not? I liked that match. I liked, to a certain extent, the tag team match, the Daivari and Kanellis one, and the match itself I didn't really love, but I loved this one part of the match where at the beginning of it, everybody was chanting that they wanted Kanellis for some reason, and Daivari did this, like, tease where he was like, okay, fine, I'll tag in Kanellis, and everybody's like, yay, and then Kanellis gets ready, and then he tags in Daivari. It was like, I love that part. That was great. The rest of it kind of went downhill, and then by the time we got to the triple threat, I wrote down good match, but nothing that's can't miss. And the Devlin Tozawa match, I was like, you know what? These 2 are better than this. And that was disappointing. By the end of it, I felt like the whole thing was hollow.
Yeah, I keep hoping we're going to get a good Worlds Collide, but so far, no dice.
Yeah, the next one is going to be Women Collide, and those, actually, the spoilers are all out there, so if anybody doesn't care enough to want to watch it, then you can just check out to see all the different ones, and there are, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different matches that they had done, yet they're only saying a couple of the matches are actually going to happen. So just to kind of tell people ahead of time in case they are interested and they want to know like some spoiler-wise things. I'm not going to tell you about the matches that they are going to air, but the matches that they aren't going to air are that Dana Brooke defeated Jesse Elaban, and Marina Shafir defeated Tainara Kanshi. We've
That's
got
good.
the Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne defeated Xylee and Kavita Devi match. That one, I don't know if that's really worth watching. Who knows? And Casey Catanzaro defeated Reina Gonzalez, and Lacey Lane defeated Deanna Purrazzo. So those are the matches that aren't happening. The matches that are, for anybody that's interested, are Candice LeRae against Kaylee Ray, Piper Niven against Selena Vega, Io Shirai against Sonya Deville, and the triple threat for the NXT UK Women's title, which was Toni Storm, Bianca Belair, and Nikki Cross. So
That one might be actually good.
that's some potential there, and this could be probably, I would say, there's a good chance that this is going to be the best one out of the mix. The other one that's a battle royal, 2 battle royals, I should say. So battle royals are fun. That might be better.
And what day is this on?
This is going to air on, I think it's this Wednesday at 9. Yeah.
So they really enjoyed the Wednesday. Here, let's cram all the alternative wrestling we can into one block. And I think they might be looking for just a consistent third hour to go along with, I guess, to go along with NXT and NXT UK. I was going to say 205 Live, but I remember they moved it back to Tuesday. And
yeah, they tried 205 Live there. They tried a double hour of NXT UK. They've tried the Mae Young Classic, ran there for a little bit.
That's the best one, I think, when you get that. Here's the Mae Young Classic, and it really fits. This just seems like a smorgasbord of random matches.
Yeah, and it is. And I mean, let's be honest, it's bonus material, so you can't go into it kind of going like, well, this wasn't, grade A, top best pay-per-view of the year type of thing, because it's not a pay-per-view, and they're not trying to act like it is. It's just sort of like, here's some 4 extra episodes of TV. But at the same time, knowing that it's completely bonus material and that there's no ramifications and there's no real hook to anything, you gotta hope that the matches are good enough to be able to make up for that, and I'm just not feeling these all that much. But I will tell you, they're better than the Shield's final chapter.
Okay, well, that was a one-match show, even though we got 3. It was a one-match card, and I think the one match delivered in every aspect that it was supposed to.
I didn't. This is already listed down as my worst event of the year. I hated this.
I don't think this should count as worst event of the year. It's like a special, here's the happy send-off for the Shield. I thought it was a nice wrap-up for the Shield, in that you don't usually get such a clean and decisive, hey, Roman's going to hit his finisher, and then Seth is going to hit his finisher, and then, everything was just sequential. I mean, it was a house show, so it really did come off as one. And I didn't mind it. I thought the Shield portion of it was good. The rest of it, I could have done without. I think the women's tag match in particular was a little weird with Bailey and Ember versus the Riot Squad. I wanted to make the joke of, it's the last riot of the Riot Squad and no one's saying too much about that. But I thought it was good. The Shield part of it anyway. I didn't like the Elias Finn Balor match.
That's the thing, is that they had 3 elements to this. And it was Elias versus Finn Balor, where the Elias promo wasn't anything special. We've heard the exact same thing before, and it was very quick. Then they had this super fast match that ended in a botch, with the referee not counting. It's not the referee's fault. It's either Elias or Balor, whichever one screwed up. I'm pretty sure it's Elias. Elias' shoulder was up. And the referee's like, hey, I saw what happened at WrestleMania. I'm not fucking counting that pin. And 1, 2. Oh, his shoulder's kind of up and we can't do this, so let's just redo the pin. Very awkward. And there wasn't any substance to the match. Then we go into this random tag team match, which is like, out of all the things that are going to be extra you're going to book Bailey and Ember against the Riot Squad? Fucking why? And that was pointless too. And within a half an hour, they had already gotten through the 2 matches, and they felt like they were only a couple minutes long and nothing to them. And then we get the Shield match, and it's a repeat of a match we've seen before, with nothing literally in the entire thing that I can remember except for probably their weakest triple power bomb.
I do feel like the opponents were a definite miss. I would have given them just about anybody. You know, like, I would have given them an actual trio, you know what I mean? I would have given them even, like, let's say Sanity or something. I would have just given them anybody to make it seem like, all right, it's the last ride, so we're going to give them a special match. Not the match that we already seen at Fastlane, you know? But
I think that's just Vince being like, these are 3 top guys, that's it. Like, that has to be it because they're 3 top guys.
And I also think it's more of like, hey, did you know that it's Easter? Hey, did you know that this is Ambrose's final match? And I'm assuming in America, because I think he's still scheduled to do some stuff. No, that's right. They have Braun Strowman listed as an honorary Shield member when they go over to Europe. So that's weird. But I think it was more just like, hey, it's Easter. Hey, it's Ambrose's last match. Let's put it on the network.
I just thought that this is not even one too many, that they just milked the shit out of this. And at this point, they're sitting there going like, oh, it's such a shame that we're not going to be around together. And it's like, yeah, you said that 15 times already. I don't care anymore. Like, can Ambrose actually just like leave yet? I'm already over it. It's a shame because the Shield is so important. And I like all 3 guys a whole lot. And I want this to be something that matters. And I feel like it doesn't. I feel like they killed it. Like, the best equivalent to see that I can put for this, and for anybody who hasn't watched the show, they'll have no real connection to it, but if anybody has watched Scrubs, this is the extra 9th or whatever, 11th season of Med School.
You know, I think that they definitely
Oh, you know what?
definitely ran into the ground.
A good equivalent for you in particular. This is How I Met Your Dad. That's basically that kind of a thing. Like, let's do this spin-off thing. Let's beat it into the ground and do like another finish of something, essentially, just to kind of keep it going. And you know,
I would argue that this is comparable to sort of the final seasons of How I Met Your Mother, where I always feel like that show got off the air right before it would have been, you know, thrown off for being too insensitive. I think The Shield is getting out right before it became, okay, stop beating this dead horse, you know?
this is season 13 of The Simpsons or something.
Yeah, like this is
We were like,
this is
I don't like this
after
as much
movie
anymore.
Simpsons, where it's like, oh, we're still going.
I just did not like this at all, and I thought that the post-match promo was nothing special, and I just feel like this cheapened the whole thing. So I really put a thumbs down on that, and it's kind of weird to be like, well, we're not going to get Backlash, but we got that Shield's final chapter. We got a Saudi Arabia show coming up. You know, it's just like,
I'm not gonna thumbs down it because I like the concept, and I think that more like I told you yesterday, a quarterly house show. I'd put it on the network because, you know, it's bonus content. Oh, what's the worst that could happen? But talking about the promo, all weekend long they were kind of showing these Shield promos, and the one thing I noticed is It was kind of formulaic. Rollins would talk, Ambrose would talk, and Reigns would never say a word. You know, Reigns was very almost like in true Shield fashion. He was very the silent heavy. You know what I mean? He never really said anything about I'm gonna miss you. He just let them talk and say their piece. And with Ambrose, I feel like he never even addresses that he's leaving. He's just like, and I fucking love these guys, and they overcame so much, and I love you guys too, and you make it all possible, and I'm out of here.
Yeah, and I don't feel like that's any kind of closure like they want it to be. So then it just is another Monday Night Raw match.
But I don't
Except
think
that
he
they
gives
just keep beating you over the head with the fact that it isn't,
I don't think he, being Ambrose, gives a fuck if it's the closure that they want. It's the closure that he wants and that he's gonna give. I genuinely buy into him just being like, no, fuck you, I'm done. He did that interview with Michael Cole where he kind of cuts Cole off before Cole can ask him a question. And he goes, what I'm doing next is my business. The $1 Million Man didn't win. I can't be bought. And that's that. I came into this casino 8 years ago. I got my chips. I'm cashing in. I'm leaving. I win the game. That's it.
I like how a lot of people are just going, oh, that means all this double
I
or
mean,
nothing talk. Like, he's cashing in his chips. That double or nothing. Like,
I like that.
I think that that's funny.
No, it's more so just he lives in Vegas.
Yeah, well, you never know. I don't think that's the case. But what we do know, speaking of transitions and stuff, is that Goldust is no longer going to be in WWE, and we all kind of saw this coming from a
That
mile away.
that pissed me off. I'm sorry. It does. I hate when they do that. Oh, you think you know everything? Yes, because yes. Like, and I'm not even being, pardon the pun, I'm not even being a Smark here. Like, it was obvious. It was very obvious this is the route they were going. Don't get me wrong. It's good. Goldust or Dustin and Cody at Double or Nothing. Did you watch the video package?
No, I saw part of it. I saw the one. Well, there's been a couple different things. So which one are you talking about?
The 5-minute video package where they just announced that it's going to be Dustin against Cody, and where they actually kind of make it an attempt to put some story behind it.
Is that the one that Dustin is saying he keeps promoting this as like one last time or something?
Yeah.
Okay, I did see that one. I didn't see the one with him putting the mask away.
Yeah, that wasn't in relation to the match. That was more just like him genuinely saying, all right, I don't think I'll ever be Goldust again.
I think it's funny that they kept bleeping out the name Stardust.
Yeah, I think that's just for a fact.
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting, though. And,
Uh,
I mean, we get the confirmation. He's Dustin Rhodes. He's got a brand new logo. For some reason, he's red and black paint, which I think kind of, like, defeats the purpose of this whole, like, I'm putting the Goldust character away. It's like, oh, now you're just Red Dust. I think that's stupid. I wanted him to be Dustin Rhodes, not Black Rain.
I think he feels like he has to have that extra added imagery to his character. I would have liked him to be just Dustin, but if this comes along with like some fresh gear and not just like jeans, I'm okay with it.
See, I'm assuming that he's just going to get the same Goldust outfit, but it's going to be red.
Even still, I'm okay with that as opposed to just like I'm the natural Dustin Rhodes and I'm gonna wear jeans.
I'm excited for the match, though. I mean, he's proven that he, at least before he had this most recent surgery, like, he still could go. And he's probably going to be much more passionate about this than anything he's done in a while. So, that's still pretty cool.
I loved the video package, and I had said this to a few people. It made me sad that they don't do more storytelling and just wrestling amongst the elite. Like there's so much comedy and extra stuff added on top of their wrestling that you don't often see them build. to matches like this, but when they do, it's really good, and it made me kind of just wish they were signed to a company full time, like, and just doing wrestling. As cool as I think AEW is, I also just like the guys in the elite,
I'm always just gonna like reserve judgment until we get a TV show, because even when it comes to just these extra little like the build up to Double or Nothing, they're currently still just a t-shirt company, basically.
Well, they won't become a month, so I'll be glad when we get over that hurdle and they actually start having their own shows. It'll be interesting to see what AEW arenas look like, what their stages look like,
Yeah. If the ring's going to be a standard ring or if they're going to tweak it in some fashion, and if they do call it Tuesday Night Dynamite, which station is it going to be on? Or are they going to have to pay for it, which is really kind of like,
well, the paying for it thing's already been debunked by Meltzer and a few other sources.
Oh, that's good.
And really, I had brought this up on the WrestleZone thing earlier. The paying for it thing doesn't seem like the most outlandish thing to me. They're not a proven commodity. Maybe if that was even the case, maybe it would have been a thing where they offered to, hey, let us show you what we can bring to the table. My thing is, TNT and TBS, which are the rumored stations, are so definitively branded. TNT is a drama, like Law and Order, Creepy Hollows. I feel like that's wrong. Sleepy Hollows kind of station, and TBS is here's some Family Guy and Big Bang Theory reruns.
Yeah.
Like, where does a wrestling program fit?
Mm-hmm. This kind of doesn't. Then again, USA is really a strange place for all the WWE stuff.
That is true. I guess.
It would only make sense like when they were on Spike. That made sense because it's kind of like TV for guys, action shit, And if they were on ESPN, obviously that would make sense, or some other kind of like FS1, Fox Sports 1, like that would be a sporting related thing. But even more so, like NBC makes sense than something like TNT or TBS. But we've gotten Impact on Pop, and we got a lot of weird things over the years.
Impact on the Hunting Channel, Impact on the Bigfoot is Real channel. Yeah, wrestling can really kind of make it on any home that will have it, except for Nickelodeon.
That's what they do, Saturday Morning Slam, with all that like can't do a headlock and all that.
That was I enjoyed that. It was dumb, but it was like people were funny. So I kind of like that. But with AEW, it's going to be interesting to see where they land.
Yeah. And we've gotten that kind of confirmation, but as much as we've got some speculation of people that could potentially leave the company and some other people moving around and other kind of things, this thing came out of the blue for me. And this is really strange because it's kind of like halfway in, halfway out, which is that Aiden English is taking bookings, but he's still a commentator. And some of these things are saying he's not necessarily under a talent contract anymore, just a commentator contract. Yet we just saw him wrestle at Worlds Collide. So I wonder if this is an oversight or if this is a specific plan. Like, we want you to be a commentator. We do not see you having much value as a performer. And if you want to wrestle elsewhere, you can wrestle elsewhere as long as it's not TV, because we don't want to pay you as much for that anymore. But every once in a while, we might want to bring you in and make you wrestle. That seems the way that, if I'm interpreting it correctly, that kind of makes sense to me from their perspective.
Well, and is he taking bookings or is he specifically taking wrestling bookings?
Wrestling bookings, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, because I was going to say, commentators, like Charlie Caruso takes meet and greets all the time. So does, Graves does meet and greets. Renee Young as well. So maybe it's a thing like that. where they're going to allow him to take bookings and they can do a meet and greet and then like he can scout talent. But if he's going to take wrestling bookings, that is unique. Because I think the only other commentator that's ever been allowed to wrestle elsewhere is Lawler.
Right. And you would think that that would be kind of built into Lawler just being a legend.
Yeah, he's just Lawler.
Yeah, it's like, well, he runs his own fucking company. Let's let him do it, you know?
He's still wrestling, by the way.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that it's a horrible mistake. But at the same time, credit to him. Like, I'm sitting there wearing a wrist guard right now from all this work that I've been doing. That my wrist is still messed up. And he's, had a heart attack. And he's like, yeah, I can wrestle. And I'm like, man, it sucks to get up out of bed. Like,
Jerry Lawler.
The idea that Aiden English could be wrestling for other companies outside of something like an AEW, I have to assume that that's part of the contract. Is you can wrestle for Joe Schmo's promotion. You can go to that ICW show, whatever it was. What was it, IPW? I think that it was like 20 people had gone to on WrestleMania week.
Maybe it was ICW.
Something like that. ICPWA, ICAWP, whatever. I don't know. But, like, yeah, you want to wrestle in front of 20 people and you make a couple $100, go ahead and do it. As long as it doesn't fuck up your 205 Live stuff. And then maybe for something like Worlds Collide, they kind of go, yo, Aiden, you want to wrestle tonight? Like, that kind of thing. I think that's kind of where we're working with.
And listen, if it works for him, it works for him. I think he got a shitty deal where the vaudevillains were good, and they went to the main roster and they weren't good, and then he kind of floundered. So if he can wrestle elsewhere and be happy and find other means for his passion, that's perfectly fine.
Do you happen to know offhand what Shawl Guerrero's working with right now?
I don't think she's working. I think she did some stuff for Lucha Underground, but that whole promotion is going down in a dumpster fire. So I don't think she's got the physicality or the physical capabilities to be a full-time wrestler. So I think she's just doing modeling and shit.
So I'm looking on her Wikipedia page and it says she went and returned to Reality of Wrestling as a commentator. And she is a ring announcer for Women of Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So if that's the case, I mean, Aiden English can't perform for Women of Wrestling. So that kind of, kind of defeats the purpose of that whole thing.
That sounds like gender discrimination.
The Reality Wrestling thing is Booker's promotion.
Yes.
So
and they're actually doing a show where Ono is wrestling on.
Yeah, so that might be something that maybe he would be a part of that or something, I mean, he could get some kind of a little bit of buzz that way or something. Just very interesting, the idea that he can potentially wrestle and still be under contract in WWE.
Yeah,
but then again,
maybe it's similar to what the the UK people were doing.
Yeah, they can kind of do that kind of stuff too, yeah. And even some of the other people that are in the UK side, like we've seen people like the Street Profits go for like Evolve.
Right.
So that might be a big factor into that. And I mean, that'll be one of those stories that we might have to keep our eyes on, and maybe we'll hear more about that through our eyes. Apparently, that was a really bad metaphor. And see what happens with that. But if there's more to this whole commentary thing, I actually like him on 205 Live on commentary. So kind of cool with that. Aiden English was never my favorite performer.
That's fair. I feel bad.
If he wants to wrestle, he should go wrestle somewhere. Like, that's good,
Yeah, I definitely think they could have done more with him, and they should have. But, what's done is done.
So this is a real quick thing. This is that WWE trademarked Stomping Grounds. And the idea behind it is it could possibly be that FS1 show.
So I definitely think that it's a reimagined version of Tough Enough. And
kind of like mix that with Breaking Ground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think it is. It'll be interesting to see, though. You know?
Yeah, that strikes me as probably the most, the safest bet. Because, like, what do you call a stomping ground? You call your home a stomping ground. You call, the base of operations, essentially. We're going to go back to our old stomping grounds. This is where we learn things. So I would assume no matter what, it has to be something revolving around the performance center. And the performance center is exactly the type of environment that you would make some kind of a TV show like that. So if they're going to have some kind of reality show based around that, Stomping Grounds makes a lot of sense. They can't use Tough Enough, I'm assuming, because Tough Enough is built into network TV. But if they go with Stomping Ground, then they can make their own thing. And they don't have to follow through with what these with these network executives and with these producers and everything. There is no influence. It's just them. Or, for all we fucking know, Stomping Grounds could be a new tag team. Sometimes that happens.
Well, thankfully they trademarked WWE Stomping Grounds, so I don't think it'll be for any talent.
You never know. WWE stands for Walk with Elias. It might be Walk with Elias' Stomping Grounds.
It's the fucking name of his full-length album.
There you go. Could happen.
Oh, God.
And he's going to bring in Stomp. That's how it's going to work.
I think it's going to be a Tough Enough type thing.
Yeah. We might hear more about that over the next couple of months or so. I'm assuming at the very least we would know about that by the whole Fox situation. But maybe it'll debut in the summer. Maybe it'll be something like a month from now we start hearing some buzz of casting for Stomping Grounds or something like that. So that's interesting too. And the last two topics that I have, we're going to kind of merge these together and just bounce around a little bit, which is that they decided, hey, that whole Superstar Shakeup thing, that's supposed to be a 2-day event, not a 2-day event. And we had talked about our thoughts on the Superstar Shakeup in the previous section for Smack Talk, so if anybody's interested in what our opinions are before they got kind of screwed up a little bit here, go ahead and check out that episode. But they kind of changed things up a little bit more. And one of these things is a spoiler, so I don't know if anybody really is interested in NXT UK, but somebody goes to NXT UK. And if you really don't want to know, then I suggest skipping ahead a little bit. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the other one. So, spoiler alert for NXT UK. Alexander Wolf is in NXT UK. And not only is he in there, he is part of a new stable called Imperium, which is European Union, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Bartel, and Alexander Wolf, and Walter, who has turned heel.
Not a fan. Here's why. I don't think Walter needs a stable.
I don't think he does either, but at the same time, I felt like this was inevitable, so I'm sort of just like desensitized to it, and it's just like, all right, yeah, just go ahead with it.
My immediate thought was Walter doesn't need a stable, but God, I hope the next War Games match is the Undisputed Era versus these guys.
That'd be kind of cool, yeah. I like that. I like the idea that Alexander Wolf is going over there too, because even though he's not somebody that I really thought would have been like the end of the world if he would have left and gone elsewhere, at least this is an attempt to use him,
Yeah, and I'll just say I think that he's great. I think it's great that guys that are talented get to work elsewhere. Like that's one of the advantages of having 5 brands is guys that are talented will find their way. And I'm glad Alexander Wolf didn't have to go back to the Indies.
I'm surprised that Killian Dane didn't move over, though. I would have thought that maybe they would have prioritized him.
I think the thing is they want Nikki Cross in America, and they're married. So I think that's why you haven't seen it yet.
Well, that is even something that's kind of question mark about, because they still have not said where Nikki Cross is supposed to be. Yet, in the process of this, they fucked around with a whole bunch of different couples. And anybody who watched Raw tonight, Cesaro is now on Monday Night Raw, which means that the bar is no longer a thing.
I'm a fan of
Unless they
that.
decide to just move Sheamus over as well, which that's kind of strange if they do. But then again, they've already proven that they can do it.
Did he have a new Titantron tonight?
I don't think so.
I think he definitely did. And he still has Sheamus' theme song, and I found that very weird.
They're used to it by now. They probably don't even have his old music queued up.
Yeah, they probably don't even realize that that's Sheamus' theme song.
Mm-hmm.
But I
It's
just
the bar's
found it
theme
weird.
now. And Samoa Joe is on Raw, which we all kind of figured was going to be happening because of the whole United States title situation. Good.
They moved Andrade and Zelina Vega back to SmackDown, and because of that, along with Zelina Vega, comes Aleister Black. So that's another tag team that was split up.
Yeah, Ricochet and Black are split up. That means Andrade is not going to have his spot as one of those top heels on Raw, which means that screws up all that balance for us.
Well, here's the interesting thing. They moved Andrade because at the request of Fox wanted a Latino superstar. And the person that they chose was Andrade. Now, I find that weird that WWE didn't just choose to move or keep Ray on SmackDown since Fox was already using Ray in the advertising, because Ray's a major star, that they went with Andrade. And that's
well, the
interesting.
thing that makes sense to me about that is because Charlotte is on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So Charlotte and Andrade are engaged. And
that's not real.
I mean, she's got the ring, doesn't she?
Is that real? I know that rumor was floating around, but I wasn't sure if that was confirmed.
Yeah, she's got a ring on in one of her pictures.
Wow. I did read something that also said Flair, Rick, feels like they're moving way too fast, which the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree there, Nate.
Hey, pot, kettle. Yeah.
But
that would make sense, though, because if that would be like, look, I just got engaged to this guy and you're moving him to the opposite brand, what the hell? Well, let's kill two birds with one stone. We're going to move over the Hispanic star, and that'll please Fox, and we're going to move over Andrade, and that'll please Charlotte. Then they have to go with, then we got to move Zelina Vega. But then by that rationale, we have to move Aleister Black. And then next thing you know, they're going, shit, we need to move Cesaro or somebody over to Raw to kind of balance that out a little bit.
Now, I like it because you created, if Sheamus is healthy, 4 single stars in Ricochet, Black, Cesaro, and Sheamus, but you've also killed 2 tag teams in the process.
My fear about this is that they're going to do the thing that they always do, which is, who gives a shit about the tag teams? If we need tag teams, we'll make them. And 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 5 months from now, whatever it is, they're going to look at Ricochet and they're going to say, we don't really know where we want to put you, so why don't we have you and Ray team up? Which that wouldn't be bad. I mean, like,
yeah,
that.
I mean, so there's worse.
It's not a Bobby Roode and Chad Gable situation, but that kind of philosophy can lead to some great stuff, like the New Age Outlaws, or it could lead to predominantly bad stuff when they just go, you're 2 people that aren't doing anything. How about Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder team up? How about, just pick and choose who any random people are. And that doesn't tend to work out with a strong tag team division, because the next thing you know, they've paired 2 people up and they decide that they want to push them. And then the tag team division revolves around these 2 random single stars that don't need to be in a tag team. Kind of like Show Miz.
Yeah, but I don't know. I want to be positive, but I'm a little afraid for the tag team division. And not to mention the women's tag team division as well.
Well, that too. Like, that was, let's do Ravishing Glow. Let's do the Fabulous Glow. You're a tag team now. We need another tag team. And Aleister Black is going to do fine, and Ricochet is going to do fine, and Andrade, whether he's on Raw or SmackDown, he's going to work his way up that mid-card kind of spot, get an upper mid-card spot somewhere down the line. And Cesaro, this might be the best thing for him, because now he's going to be a single star again.
Yeah, I think Cesaro and Sheamus are the 2 that I'm most excited for, because Sheamus, even though he's been booked weird through the years. One of the last guys who's literally done everything.
King of
So
the Ring, won
he's
a Royal Rumble, world champion multiple
Money in the
times.
Bank.
Yeah, Money in the Bank,
He's
United
done
States champion.
literally everything, and there's nothing that's stopping them from being like, all right, we need a world champion. Here's Sheamus. With Cesaro, he's been on the cusp of a major main event push for forever. So maybe this is the chance that he finally gets it.
Maybe. I'm interested in seeing where they go with this, but at the same time, I'm very nervous about it because I just don't trust WWE all that much, you know?
Yeah, and
And
you're well within your right.
and here's one of the reasons why is because WWE has proven not just over the course of, 40, 30 years, whatever, however long you've been watching, however long this company's been apart and you're constituting it, but this week alone they've proven that they can't stick to their own ideas because not only did the Superstar Shakeup change, people's names have changed. They brought up Ivar and Eric instead of Hanson and Rowe. They changed the War Raiders to the Viking Experience. Thankfully, they realized how stupid of a name that was, and now they are the Viking Raiders, and their finisher is called the Viking Experience, which that is a smart thing. Like, golf clap. Good job, WWE. You realized how your dumbass name is better for a finisher, and that's not a bad finisher name.
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh,
like it.
you got hit with the Viking Experience. Okay, well that's fine. The Viking Raiders, we talked about that as being why aren't they just the Viking Raiders?
I like it. I think somebody just like woke up and was like, okay, we need to fix this. And they came up with an easy solution. And kudos to them for, not going the pig-headed route with this.
Not like, damn it, we're right. We're going to beat you over the head with Viking Experience and tell you why you're wrong.
And then there's a porn stash Robert Roode.
That was, well, you could tell the commentary team tonight on Monday Night Raw that they weren't adjusted to this yet. Not to blame them for that either. Like, they just literally changed this. So when the Viking Raiders come out, they call them the Viking Riders and like different things like that. And Bobby Roode, you could tell they're struggling. Every time that they're going to say Robert Roode instead, it's like, and this man here, Robert Roode, like they really were just kind of like Robert, like they didn't ever hear that fucking name before or something. And I don't know how to feel about that because I like that they're trying something different. And Robert Roode, Bobby Roode, whatever, he's still the same guy. But then I look at that stupid mustache and then I go, you know?
Here's the problem to me. The mustache screams, all right, well, we just want you to be Rick Rude, But
Yeah. I'm really surprised that they didn't try to say something like he's Rick Rude's son.
I'm glad that we're in a day of wrestling where we're beyond that, because in a different time, they totally would have.
Yeah. And they would have done that with, like, Braun Strowman would have been Big Show's son.
Yep.
And, so many different things like that. It would have been really bad.
So
I don't know how to feel about Robert Roode. Like, I'm glad that he won his match. I'm glad that he could potentially be getting a push now. And maybe this is going to be, kind of like the change back into the Robert Roode that we really, really liked. But that stash has got to go.
Yeah.
That's really bad. That's, dude, what are you trying to piggyback off of Joey Ryan or something?
Yeah, that porn stash, that's really stupid.
Really dumb. But at least they're making these changes in the attempt, at the very least, to fix some problems. And Robert Roode, we'll see how that goes.
He
Viking
beat
Raiders.
Ricochet. I feel like that's a good start.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that's a positive. Like that. I mean, he didn't beat Sin Cara where it wouldn't have mattered.
I wouldn't have put him against Ricochet, though.
You would have built that?
No, because it seems like with Ricochet losing Black, he is now a character who is also in dire need of attention and, proper handling, because now he's not quite established. And kind of on your first night as a solo act, you're going to lose felt like, is he just going to be the nice guy that flips and loses?
I really hope not. I don't think that he's going to fall into that trap, at least not right away, because I think that there's going to be at least enough interest in him just being new.
So he's
But then
definitely got a
again,
spot in that ladder match, right?
I don't really think so. There's a lot of people on Monday Night Raw right now, and I got a feeling he might fall by the wayside a little bit. You figured Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio. I'm assuming Samoa Joe fights Braun Strowman, so those two are kind of out of the mix. But there's a lot of people still to kind of go with, and there's one less now that we don't have Aleister Black, but maybe Bray Wyatt gets in there. Maybe Bobby Lashley. Cesaro now has to be potentially in the running.
I don't think Bray Wyatt is allowed to play with ladders, Tony.
He might not, but maybe it's a ladder safety kind of prevention thing, and he can get in that way. And Sami Zayn and Robert Roode now. There's a lot of people. Miz too. Fuck, I forgot about the Miz. And
we definitely are missing out on something by there's no qualifying matches even. Alexa Bliss is just gonna reveal these people next week.
Well, did they say that was for both?
Yeah.
Or just for the they could be just for the women's?
Nope, they said for both.
Okay. Huh. Oh, they got weeks to do this. I wonder why they wouldn't just do qualifying matches. That would be perfect for it. Have Cedric Alexander against Cesaro and see who qualifies. And you know what I mean?
Shit, now there's Cesaro too. Fuck. Ugh. I'm almost kind of in favor, and we can't do this now because of the women. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just there's so much talent across both divisions that people are suffering here, because back in the days before a women's ladder match, they would have just done a Raw men's and a SmackDown men's. And, it would have been the best 8 options from Raw and the best 8 from SmackDown. And with this, it's alright, so you got Cesaro, who should be in it. You got Sammy, who should be in it. You got Ricochet, who should be in it. You can go down the line and name at least 10 people who should be in this match on Raw alone.
You know your answer to that? 20-man battle, different Money in the Bank match.
They could do that wild one from WrestleMania 26 where they had 10 people. At least that'll get you one extra person from each show.
I think that's what they're going to do. 5 from each.
Yeah, I would. Even though then it becomes who wins this. I don't want to be on the creative team, I gotta tell you. I couldn't imagine that. But I definitely think Ricochet flipping off of ladders is too good to pass up.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it. He's one of those 10 people from Raw, one of those 10 people from SmackDown kind of a thing. Ricochet would be on my list, but I got a feeling he might not be this year. And then again, I thought that Cesaro was on fucking SmackDown, so who knows when it comes to these things.
Well, since we're talking about Money in the Bank, WrestleVotes today released a tweet saying that they want to make the winner of Money in the Bank a star. And here's the thing, I know that very much sounds like, well, no shit, Sherlock. But yeah, after the last couple of years, I think the winner of the men's Money in the Bank does need to be made to look like a star. I
think it's going to be Andrade.
I'm going with Drew McIntyre.
There's so many possibilities. And of course, when we get down to it, we'll eventually do the call the spot, and we'll do rankings and predictions and all the other kind of stuff that goes along with that.
As long as we never get another, here's Braun Strowman, and he's just going to say, I would like a match with you at Hell in a Cell. Thank you.
Can I please have some more? That's the kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's about it, hot tag wise. I don't have anything else on my list. Anything else that I'm forgetting about that's what? Something like that.
Well, since I brought it up earlier, and I guess we should talk about it, just to fill out that continuity. CM Punk showed up under a mask at some Midwest independent show, and I love it. I think it's just so awesome because he'll never admit to it being him, and it's just part of that mystery of, did he really finally do something with wrestling? So his trainer, Ace Steel, was in a match where he was managed by another good friend of his from the early days, Dave Prazak, and the guy they were opposing, his manager jumped in the ring and tried to hit Ace Steel with a chair, and then some guy in a mask came into the ring, took the chair from the guy, hit him with the GTS, and kind of left.
Just
And
go to
I think,
AEW. Just do it. Just stop with the whole I'm not back in wrestling thing. Go back to it. Just go back to AEW.
well, does he still have time on his contract with the UFC?
I don't think that they have contract kind of things like that. Because they were saying
Well,
before that he might not even have a second match, you know?
well, they have a certain number of fights. I mean, I guess it's within their right to, like, not give them those fights, but they do have a certain number.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was only one. And then they were like, yeah, let's give him a second one, you know? I think
Well,
he's just going to AEW. Like, I think that they're playing coy and he wants to return to wrestling, but he doesn't want to return to WWE. So if he goes to AEW, he makes a big splash. He makes a big, like, oh, he's going to be the big deal at, not at Fyter Fest, but like,
Fight for the Fallen.
what's the, Fight for the Fallen? Yeah, like, I could see him wrestling there.
Well, Tony Khan, and I forget where this report was from. I think this might have been post wrestling or something, but apparently, when Tony Khan had the idea for a wrestling promotion, the first name he wanted, even before the Elite, was Punk. And, you know, I said this on WrestleZone Daily. Punk, his whole gripe with WWE was the company culture and, you know, wanting to maybe unionize wrestlers and stuff like equal pay. And AEW is working on all those cylinders. So Punk could theoretically join this company, make a splash, make this great change. You know, I think it would be a good fit for him. Whether or not he wants to do it is up to him.
I think it'll happen.
I hope so.
He'll pop up as Dustin Rhodes.
You know what? I'm all for it.
He's the red section for the black and red paint.
Jeez, how did he morph his body into the red paint on Goldo's face?
No, that's the hook. That's why you got to tune in and find out. So stupid. Well, those are the hot tags, everybody. Thank you for listening to them, of course. Drop your comments below and tell us what you think about all these different topics and anything else that you want to chime in on. And while you're doing that, hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell for the notifications, and you will be aware of when the next thing gets posted up on here, which will be the April mailbag. We'll be recording that sometime on Wednesday, so that'll be up Wednesday night at some point. Got a couple questions sent in already, so those are going to be answered. And if you haven't sent in your questions and you want to, do that as soon as you possibly can, because we need these before Wednesday. And we also have, obviously, any kind of like pay-per-view type stuff related coming up. So that means when we have the Women Collide for Worlds Collide, we're going to be addressing that on the next set of hot tags. Same thing with Brands Collide when that happens. Eventually, when we've got this whole Money in the Bank situation sorted out, we're going to do Call the Spot and Fan Announce Table probably, and Money in the Bank predictions, and we got Double or Nothing eventually coming up in May, and the Saudi Arabia thing, and blah, blah, blah. So plenty of stuff to look forward to with that, and maybe some other kind of specials here and there if we get a little bit of a window of opportunity to do that stuff. We've got lots of different ways for you to listen to this. If you are not listening to it on YouTube and you're listening to it elsewhere like iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify or Google Play or any of the other kind of avenues, then give us a rating and share us along, like our stuff, follow our stuff, whatever that case may be on all those different platforms. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment. You can check out the Patreon if you have a little spare change that you want to throw our way. You can also check out the t-shirt merchandise and other kind of designs that are up on Redbubble and TeePublic. There's fanboysanonymous.com for my side of things with the geek culture portion of the things that I'm interested in. So we've got, like, Week in Geek and different things to pay attention to there. And I've got plenty of other crap that I'm working on with eWrestling News and Bleacher Report. And God, I really want to get the All Talk show back up and running, but just do not have the time and all that. But I really want to do that at some point. And all that stuff you will find at different places all over the internet, like A Mango Tree and Tony Mango on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. So just start following that around and you will find all the crap that I'm working on. Rob?
And for me, and all the crap I'm working on, check out eWrestling News, check out the WrestleZone Daily, and if you remember back in January, I spoke openly about this thing we were doing called the Fast Food Royal Rumble. Okay? And we're now going to be doing the try to say this without laughing, the Yummy in the Bank ladder match. And yeah, so stay tuned for WrestleZone's Facebook page for all that good stuff. TimekillerApparel.com is my clothing line. It's still up. It's still running. I don't get much of a chance to mess around with it as I would like, but it'd be nice if it was checked out and maybe somebody felt so gracious as to buy a t-shirt. I'd appreciate it.
And stay tuned as well for when the future episode of 2001 is going to be up.
Yep, we're recording that on Friday, so I'm guessing it'll be up sometime next week.
Weekend, something like that. So, plenty of stuff coming your way. And we hope that you join us for all that stuff. And for at least this edition, thank you for listening to this, everybody. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.